The coaching wins in Atlanta are blowing in every single direction, so we're going to recap everything going on with the Falcons head coaching search. But quickly, if you are not subscribed to the channel, join the #1 Atlanta Falcons news and rumors channel out there. We keep you guys informed all offseason long, and we're trying to reach 18,200 subscribers. Let's talk about the Falcons coaching search again. Are we getting tired of it? I'm not getting tired of it necessarily, because at least we're getting some new storylines every single day. Like today, we have a new potential favorite emerging for the head coaching job. But we also have some interview requests and interview updates to run through. So let's get started. And I'm going to try and make it as concise as possible, because we've got a whole lot of coaches interviewing all over the place. So it can get a little hairy and a little confusing. So let's try and keep this somewhat organized. And let's start by talking about Jim Harbaugh. Where the fuck is Jim Harbaugh? That's the first question I have. No one knows where Jim is. He's reportedly still in Los Angeles. Maybe he's on a plane to Atlanta right now. Michigan football blog boys say he's back in Ann Arbor. I don't know where Jim is. Jim, if you're watching, comment below. It'll be the #1 comment in this channel's history. But I've got this from Jordan Schultz not long ago saying, sources to Bleacher Report, Jim Harbaugh is currently scheduled to interview today with the Falcons for a second time. Meanwhile, he's been in LA continuing to have serious discussions about the possibility of joining the Chargers, as Michigan also continues its push to keep him. Lots of moving parts. So I've got Jordan Schultz saying that he's going to be interviewing with the Falcons today. And then a few hours later, I've got Diana Rossini saying, hold the phone, Jim Harbaugh is still in Los Angeles after a long day of meetings yesterday. To me, it sounds like Jim Harbaugh is sitting there mulling things over. Now, Diana points out he could still be meeting with the Falcons at some point this week, but it doesn't sound like he's going to hop on a plane or Arthur Blank's PJ and jet over to Atlanta tonight. To me, it sounds like he's sitting in his LA hotel room trying to decide whether or not to take the Chargers job. And in my opinion, Jim Harbaugh is a Charger. I would love for him to be the next Falcons head coach. I think that would be a fantastic move for Atlanta. But I just haven't heard all that much buzz about Harbaugh potentially coming to the Falcons. And sure, getting a second interview is definitely a good sign of faith, but from the first day, it's been all about the Chargers. He's still in LA. It feels like the moment this video goes out, I'm going to get the notification Jim Harbaugh has been hired by the Chargers, and everything I'm saying right now is going to be dated in 35 minutes. So we'll keep an eye on this one. Don't hold your breath on it, but getting a second interview at some point has to be a pretty good sign that there is some level of high mutual interest between Harbaugh and Arthur Blank. Let's move on to our second candidate to break down the latest on, which is Mike Vrabel, former Tennessee Titans head coach. He's already met with the Falcons. It's hard to keep track of who's met and who has not met. But Jeff Darlington put out sources after Mike Vrabel meets with the Falcons owner Arthur Blank at Blank's home later today in the Atlanta area. He will fly to Carolina tonight to meet with the Panthers on Thursday. So maybe they're meeting as I'm watching right now. Maybe they're watching this together. I don't think they're watching this together. That would be pretty cool, though. Mike, if you are watching, I think you'd make a great head coach in Atlanta. I can get behind a Harbaugh hire. I can get around a Mike Vrabel hire. I think both would be home run major upgrades from Arthur Smith going to Mike Vrabel or Jim Harbaugh. But ultimately, Arthur Blank, can you hire someone? Because you're taking Belichick on your private yacht. You're flying people all over the country in your PJ. You're showing off your mansion to Mike Vrabel. Are you playing House Hunters International, or are you hiring an NFL coach? Because I can't really tell if this is your way of like subtly flexing on all these candidates how rich you are. We know you're rich. Every time a wannabe Bob the Builder dad walks into Home Depot, you get a little bit richer, and we know you have plenty of money. So could you just hire someone? And I say that from the standpoint of, I think everyone's just getting a little impatient, right? I understand you want to take your time and get the right hire, and ultimately, that is the right decision. But prisoner of the moment me, Someone commented this on our last video, and I think they're absolutely spot on. Can we just get a hire in so that we can start talking about mock drafts? Because I effing love the draft, and I just want to get to that next stage of the offseason. So, take your time, make the right decision, but I hope this is not your way of like trying to be on the next HGTV, look how rich I am show. Just get the hire right, blank. Now, Mike Vrabel, when he was with the Tennessee Titans, was a great head coach. Did things go well towards the end? No, they did not. He won 13 games over his last 2 seasons after winning a couple of AFC South titles, claiming the 1 seed in 2021, and winning some playoff games in Nashville, which is not something Titans fans are used to seeing. I think the firing of Mike Vrabel was a panic decision by the owner, Amy Adams, and it's going to set the franchise back multiple years, and Mike Vrabel is going to land on his feet and continue to be a great head coach because, what's more likely? I'm looking at 6 years of Vrabel in Tennessee. Is it more likely that 4 of those winning seasons are flukes or 2 losing seasons when he lost his starting quarterback and transitioned to a rookie quarterback in his last 2 years are a better reflection as to who he is as a head coach? I'm going to say the 4 winning seasons are probably a better inclination as to what Mike Vrabel is as an NFL head coach. Now, if you had to pick a coach between Harbaugh and Vrabes, who would it be? Jim Harbaugh or Mike Vrabel? We know how successful Jim Harbaugh has been everywhere he's gone, from San Diego to Michigan to the 49ers. He's just won. The guy is just won. Simply put, he wins and he wins and he wins. But Mike Vrabel, I think, is one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. So let me know who you think, which head coach you would prefer, Harbaugh or Vrabel. Let's round out our coaching search news and rumors roundup with an update on Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator from Houston, and the Panthers defensive coordinator, Ejiro Evero. So we're going to tell you what's going on the front over there. But really quickly, I do want to tell you guys about an awesome deal we have with our friends over at Fanatics. So we have a great Falcons t-shirt that is on sale along with a hat. So we got 2-for-1 combination right here. So you can get a Falcons hat and a Falcons t-shirt together on sale. You're not just getting one thing on sale. You're getting 2 things on sale. So if you're looking to up your Falcons wardrobe a little bit, go to chatsports.com/ATL combo. That link is in the comments and description of today's video. So if you want to give yourself some more Falcons gear or you want to give a loved one some Falcons gear, my New Year's resolution this year was I'm giving all my close friends a birthday present because who doesn't love getting a present on their birthday? So if you're looking to give someone a present, get that Falcons t-shirt hat combo. Now let's talk about Bobby Slowick and Ejiro Evero because Tom Pelissero tweeted out, the Falcons are bringing in Texans OC Bobby Slowick for an in-person second interview Thursday for their head coaching job per sources. So Bobby Slowick interviewing for a second time, this one in person tomorrow, Thursday. As for Slowick, he met again with the Commanders on Tuesday and is well regarded in Atlanta. So I have seen some rumblings, and I'm hearing whispers. Let's go with whispers that the Falcons are interested in Bobby Slowick, and he might be a dark horse, new favorite candidate to be the next head coach. Ultimately, I take a pause and I think to myself, and are the Falcons going to move on from Arthur Smith to hire Bobby Slowick? Are you really upgrading there? Maybe, but there's a lot of unknown. Now, I will add the Falcons are Rooney Rule compliant because they did in-person second interviews with Raheem Morris and Ejiro Evero. So they could hire anyone they want at any given moment. But when it comes to Bobby Slowick, I think Bobby Slowick has done a tremendous job in Houston this year. What he did with C.J. Stroud was remarkable, and give credit to the rest of that staff and, of course, C.J. Stroud himself. But again, I go back to, if you're Arthur Blank, you fired Arthur Smith because you wanted to make a splash hire. You were one of 2 teams last year that didn't play a single primetime game. Is the solution to that first-year OC Bobby Slowick in Houston? Bobby Slowick might go on to be a great coach. But what about Arthur Smith? He was in a similar spot. He was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. He had Ryan Tannehill on top of the world. And look how well that worked out. So is Arthur Blank going to learn from his mistakes of, hey, maybe going the first-time head coach route isn't working and is the solution? F it. Let's run it back. We're going with another 37-year-old offensive coordinator. Something tells me that's not what Arthur Blank wants to do. So my ultimate prediction is I don't think Bobby Slowick or Ejiro Evero gets a head coaching gig this cycle. I think they are definitely on track to get a head coaching gig at some point, but I think people are maybe kind of, I wouldn't say overreacting, if you will, to the rush of got to get that young, under 40, hotshot OC. I mean, I'm looking right now at a couple of teams in the playoffs here, and Andy Reid went to Kansas City for his second head coaching stint, right? And then you've got the Chiefs, Harbaugh, I beg your pardon, with the Ravens. And that was a unique hire with a special teams background. But then on the NFC side, you've got the San Francisco 49ers, and that was a Shanahan hire. And hey, if Shanahan comes around, yes, you make that hire. But I don't know if Slowick is ready to be crowned as the next Shanahan. That seems a bit premature to me. And then you've got Dan Campbell, who didn't have a ginormous, young offensive guru kind of hire buzz when he was crowned as the next head coach in Detroit. So I'm just not quite sure if Bobby Slowick is as big as a favorite as maybe people think he is. So to round it up and to wrap it up here, let's just run through what we know in terms of head coaching interviews. For the keyboard warrior that came from my throat in the comments section yesterday saying, how do you not have Jim Harbaugh down as a second interview? I guess I was right for waiting to put a caret next to his name, because maybe there will be no second interview in Atlanta. Maybe he's going to take the Chargers job tonight. So you know who you are. However, a second interview has been done with Bill Belichick. They have now requested and interviewed Mike Vrabel. Ben Johnson is getting or has gotten a second interview. Bobby Slowick on Thursday will get a second interview. Brian Callahan was hired. Joe Brady and Brian Johnson both had first interviews. Then you've got Ejiro Evero getting a second in-person interview. Mike McDonald and Anthony Weaver, both from Baltimore, they have both been requested for second interviews. Raheem Morris got a second interview, and Aaron Glenn was requested for a second interview. So a lot of second interview requests, some of them fulfilled, some of them not fulfilled yet, and maybe they will, maybe they won't, depending on if the Falcons decide to hire their next head coach before those interviews are completed. But if I'm making predictions on who the next head coach is going to be for the 5 openings after we saw the Tennessee Titans hire Brian Callahan and the Raiders stick with Antonio Pierce, I think Jim Harbaugh goes to the Chargers. I still think Bill Belichick goes to the Falcons. I think Ben Johnson goes to the Washington Commanders. And I think Dan Quinn goes to Seattle. And I don't know what the Panthers do. I also heard an interesting point of the Panthers' job is the worst job in the NFL right now. But what if I spin zone it like this? You get to be an NFL head coach, and if you get fired because the owner is an uber control maniac, you get a ginormous payout, and no one's going to blame you for anything that went wrong in Carolina. So maybe it's not the worst spot to be a head coach. But those are my predictions. I really don't know what to make of the Panthers head coaching search right now. But before we get on out of here, I do want to end the show on a bit of a lighthearted question, which is name a random Falcon. The more random, the better. I don't want to see any Matt Ryans. I don't want to see any Julio Joneses in the comment section. I want the most random Falcon possible. The bigger the poll, the bigger the poll, that's better, the better. So that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in for another edition of Falcons Today. If you enjoyed our coverage, consider subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it.